of the world, top of...
Hello everybody, and thanks for being with us today. This is our Wonder Women podcast, and this is the main podcast for the business magazine for women.com. Welcome. In our podcast, just like in our magazine, we're focused on promoting women's voices in business, technology, STEM, politics, sports, arts, and culture. My name is Monica Antohi. I'm the founder of the business magazine for women and today's host. So today is a special podcast because today we finally tell you why we're doing what we're doing. Today, I'll be talking with my managing editor, Adrienne Hanard, about how we got started, about why we think that the magazine is important and what's coming up for the rest of the year, plus a little preview on our summer issue if you haven't gotten your copy yet. And you'll also get to meet our cutie pie Ione, the 3-year-old that's making our managing editor's life very exciting. But before we dive in, I'd like to remind you quickly about our Patreon page. If you like what you're hearing or seeing, we'd love your support. Go to Patreon, spelled patreon.com/Wonder Women Podcast. And for the small price of a cup of coffee, basically, you'll get that amazing feeling that you're supporting an organization that is changing the world for the better for women and girls. And you'll also hear your name in our next podcast. So for a little more than a cup of coffee, you'll get cool perks like the summer issue of the Business Magazine for Women delivered directly into your inbox, or our Wonder Women t-shirts or other goodies. So head on over to Patreon and make your pledge so we can send you that most awesome gift of your choice. We've been called Forbes for Women and just made the top 10 digital business magazines for women. Yay! Okay, so this is done. The admin part is done, so let's get you to our podcast today. Enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast. My name is Monica Antohi, and today we're actually speaking with Adrienne Hanard. She's our managing editor. Today, hi, Adrienne. Today, we're actually talking about, we thought it was time for you guys to know why we're doing this and how we got to doing the Business Magazine for Women, and how we got to doing Wonder Women podcast, and why we're doing what we're doing. So we're going to give you the how, the why, and the who is doing this. And I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation because we haven't done this before. Adrienne and I just started working together. I pitched her the idea, and she's like, okay. I'll let you pick it up from there. So, hi, Adrienne. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, Monica.
Hi, everybody. So, talk to me. How did I pitch you, and what happened? Like, what did I say?
Well, we were at dinner. Wine was definitely involved.
Usually.
Right. And we'd been talking about other things, but we both discussed having an editorial background. Me more in, I only had 1 cup of coffee today. I know it's noon, but you got to forgive me here. I'm one of those live on a pot of coffee a day kind of people, and I'm trying to cut down, and right now it's not so easy. It's a true addiction, let me tell you. It's a drug. But anyway, now that I'm going off the tangents, I have a background in television journalism. Mm-hmm. You have a background in a bunch of other different things, and we were talking about this magazine and how you were being women-focused in all facets of life, from business to art to culture, sports, STEM, motherhood, everything. And you needed an editor and a writer and a copywriter and somebody who understood the editorial side of a magazine. Absolutely, and I said, I would love to be a part of it. It's a great venture, and it sounded fun, and I agreed to doing it while drinking wine. But
didn't know what you got into, did you?
It was also something I wanted to do.
Oh,
so I didn't back out and ignore your phone calls and be like, I'm going to pretend that I don't know her. But so that's how it started. And I knew what I was getting into because I know people who have startups in a whole different realm. But at the same time, there's a lot of groundwork. There's a lot of things that are going on that take a lot of time. And it's bare bones, right? So you're not making money right away.
Not the first couple years,
you're not seeing your ROI, if there even is any at the beginning. Like, there's so much work that you have to put into it just to get it started. And so it's been fun and interesting, and learning about how to start a magazine, the mistakes I've made along the way, and trying to get press. And it's definitely been a challenge, especially being a copywriter and a full-time mom, and trying to get this off the ground. So, but it's been fun. So.
Yeah, so the one of the things that I was looking for in the beginning, it was not necessarily, I was looking for a full-time person, obviously, who isn't, right, who doesn't need full-time help, but the fact that you're remote actually helped a lot, because everybody that joined remote.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have necessarily offices specifically in Houston or New York or New Orleans or wherever we are. We don't necessarily have offices. And the fact that I'm trying to build a business magazine for women, and I understand women that have children. I don't have children, but you have children, and a lot of my friends have children, and I know what that means for them to not be able to go to work when something happens to the child, and they have to go to a doctor, and there's so many things that, especially because you're not necessarily the primary caregiver, but you're the primary caregiver for the child for Annie. So because of that, it just, to me, made sense to work remote. It made sense to have you come in and do whatever you need to do, because I saw your skills, I saw what you were doing, and I was like, yeah, you can just take whatever we have and just bleed over it. It's just cut as much as you want to cut over it, but do it in your own time. It to me made sense for you to do it in your own time.
May I cut you off for a second?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to happen, if this is how it will look, but your voice and your words, your mouth and your words are synced.
It could be what do you call it? It could be a
delay.
Yeah, it could be a delay.
I just don't know if that's how it's going to come off, and it's going to look kind of wonky. Okay, let's go back.
But anyway, so the idea was that I'm not going to build a product. I'm not going to build a magazine where people have to stop. Basically, I'm going to build something that's in accordance with my drive, with the mission of the magazine. And I'm trying to help women to come into the business world and stay in the business world. So by showcasing amazing women, by showcasing in business and tech and STEM and politics and every aspect of life, because we don't have enough role models. And, so for me to do anything other than that would have been hypocritical. So, there's no reason for, and the way we're building the magazine, it's totally remote, and we don't need anybody local. There's no local, right? Where's local at this point? When you have readership throughout the country, when you have when you're interviewing women throughout the country, there's no sense of local. It's more of an English thing. So, and
let's be real. Just like brick and mortar shops are kind of dying. I mean, print, unfortunately, is dying, and so there's no need to have an office where we're all working together and getting physical copies of magazines out. So
I've been getting some inquiries about that. So we're going to have it print on demand from now on. So we're going to give that an option, because because there's still people very attached to the physicality of a book.
I'm one of them.
So and then people would still some people will still like to have an actual print magazine, so why not give that a try? And so I'll have that as an option, but that's not our main goal. So the way we built the magazine, we can print it right now. It can be printed like today. You can just hit print and you're fine. But at the same time, it's like much easier if you get it digital. It's being sent to your iPad or your Kindle, whatever you're reading on, and it's always there, and it gets delivered to you and all that stuff. So That being said, but yeah, I started this because I've been working in publishing for the previous 6.5 years, but before that and during that, I was doing marketing, and the publishing that I was doing, it had to do with like women focused publishing, but it wasn't in the States, and it wasn't about what we're doing right now, and then I had like about 6 years to think about what I was doing, with that specific company, and the more I thought about what I was doing there, I realized that there's not something, not even close to it. No, there's nothing like what we're doing right now. There's nothing like it here in the States. I mean, we have Forbes, and for a business magazine, we have Forbes, we have Entrepreneur, we have a few other big publications, but there's nothing for women. Not Forbes. After we've started, Forbes came up with Women at Forbes. I'm sorry, that's a really pathetic website, and from my point of view, and it's still,
niche within a niche.
It's their women's version, but like to me, it's not sufficient. It's women as a keyword. It's not women as the main drive for the magazine. So the like I'm saying in the newsletter, the whole thing came to me because it was like I went to Barnes and Noble, and I sat down in front of the magazine rack. You see the massive magazine rack, right? And I sat down in front of it on one of the benches, and I had time. Somehow I had time, which I don't anymore. I haven't been to a bookstore in quite a few years now at this point because I don't have time. And I just sat in front of the magazine rack, and I was just looking at the magazines and like, okay, so let's take out all the magazines with nature or other things. Like just take out everything that doesn't have a person on the cover. So I took those out and I just eliminated those. And I looked at the rest of them, the men on the cover and the women on the cover. And all you saw was men in business suits, right? Very professional looking, very, confident in themselves. And you can see that it's coming through, right? I couldn't necessarily read the taglines, like, the headlines, right? But you can see the guy dressed in a professional outfit. You can see the guy dressed in a business suit. And then you look at the woman or the women, because there were not that many. First of all, the biggest difference was how many men were on the cover of the magazine versus how many women were on the cover of the magazine. So that was the biggest shock, the big shock in the beginning. And then looking deeper into it, you look at the fact that men, like I said, were dressed in business suits. And then you look at the women, and most of them were white, skinny, and dressed very, very
They're
skinny.
sexualized.
Completely sexualized, but they're white and like supermodel kind of type. Yeah. And so I'm like, where's the rest of the population? Where's the rest of the population?
Most women?
Where's the rest? Where's the women that are not from like 16 to 21? Where are the rest of the women that are actually making up, the entire workforce, if you think about it? So where are the business women? Where are the astronauts? Where are the CEOs? Where are the women in tech? Where are the women in STEM? Where are all these women, and who's telling their stories? And I sat there. I literally sat there, and I couldn't find one woman. Now it's a little bit changed because I'm seeing a little bit of a change on how they're doing news. But like at the same time, it's like there was nothing that day. There was not one magazine that showed women how we all are.
Yep.
And because we're not all young, we're not all 21, we're not all super skinny, we're not all, you know what I mean? So it's like, we're not all supermodels. I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's not the world we're living in. And we're not all walking around in bathing suits every day. So, I mean, I was on the beach, I lived on the beach, and, I was still not walking around in a bathing suit every day. You go to the beach and you wear a bathing suit. But, so I was like, light bulb moment, and like, somebody needs to do something about it. Somebody needs to tell the stories of all these amazing women that go unnoticed, and we're raising the next generation of girls without role models, and it's just mind-boggling to me. So we need to have role models, and for us to have role models, that's the important part. Like so in order to change culture, we have to change what we're feeding into culture.
Right. And
so how are we going to do that, right? Like, I'm like, how am I going to do that? How am I going to, like, change culture? Because you see the fact that women are perceived still as subservient and young, and they have to be skinny, and they still have to be wearing, I had a company when I was working corporate that basically told me, you have to wear a skirt, and you have to wear high heels. I was like, I mean, that's the kind of culture we still have in some corporations. So to go from that to, like, just be yourself and do the best job that you can, it's kind of a, big difference. So,
and your feelings of, you're looking at it from a broad perspective.
Yeah.
For me, it was more of a personal one, because talking about role models, I look at it as my daughter's very young, but I look at who's popular now, and I won't name names, but who's popular now, and those are basically girls who have 1 million plus Instagram followers, which you can buy, of course, but a lot of them, they're very sexualized at a young age. They promote a lifestyle that's not healthy. They are
real in many cases.
Yeah, well, they're pumped full of fillers and other plastic surgery before their 21st birthday, some of them before their 18th birthday. And it's like, I don't want my daughter to emulate these girls. I don't want her to look up to them or think that this is what a role model is. I don't want my daughter to think, wow, you're nobody if you don't have over 100,000 Instagram followers. And the way to get that is to make a sex tape. So let me do that, I look at young women like Emma Watson, who started He For, or a big part of He For She, and a big part of, the, oh my goodness, why I've never, like, oh my goodness, how could I'm having the biggest brain fart right now.
Okay.
And it spawned from the Me Too movement, the legal one. Oh my God, what is it? Why am I having the biggest brain fart? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I am having, again, let me go back to my first point.
The lack of coffee.
Yeah. So, but I look at young women like her, and I feel like that is who I want my daughter to look up to.
Absolutely.
Somebody who's educated, who cares about women's issues, who cares about an issue. Somebody who's doing good in the world. I'm not a fan of her music, but I really do feel like Taylor Swift projects an image that young girls can aspire to. And those are like two examples of women that we need more of influencing our young girls. And so I see it, and I'm like, for me, there were a lot of great women out there. Sheryl Sandberg won,
right.
Like, that's great, but we need younger women also represented for the young girls who don't really have that.
Absolutely.
There's,
And you were talking about you need younger women, but what I'm seeing, and it's becoming kind of an important topic that we're probably going to be discussing quickly, but or in one of the next issues, is the fact that we're so focused on women being young, that the older women, like 30, 40, 50, 60, right? They're phenomenal business women, but they get pushed to the side because of they're a little bit older, and let's just focus on the young people. I'm like, no.
The fact that you had to put 30-something women into the old women category is sad, but it's true.
It is sad. So
there are women my age who have had a ton of Botox and fillers, and I mean, really, at this stage, just use sunscreen.
Well, yeah.
I mean, we're not old,
No, and I don't think 40 is old. I don't think 50 years old.
No,
I don't think
not.
60 years old. I don't think any of that is old.
No.
I think being old is a matter of how you feel and how you think about yourself. But if you feel old, well, then you're going to look old because you're going to tell your body that, oh, I'm feeling so old. So, like, white hair is just going to start sprouting out of your head, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's genetic, and, like, thank God for hair color. That's all I got to say.
Right. When I got my first gray hair, my mom, I was really young, and I freaked out. My mom's like, I'm not going to feel sorry for you. Plus, you've been dyeing your hair since you were 15, so I don't know why you've been worried about this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, my mom had, basically she was blonde as she was growing up, and then when she had me, first child, her hair turned brunette. But then a year or two later, yes, and a year or two later, she ended up with, like, lots and lots and lots of white hair. So she's had white hair from, like, very early, you know, on. And I'm like, so it's genetic. My uncle has been gray from, like, 27 or something like that. Anyway, my mom was telling me, like, he was very young when he was doing that. So I'm like, that's what it is.
I mean, true. I had a friend. He went bald and gray.
Oh, fun. Double whammy.
At 19.
Oh,
so
wow.
We would hang out, and, like, there was one time I was asked if he was my dad, and we're 6 months apart in age. And I'm just like, thank God that he has a sense of humor. And he'd be like, listen, I was in high school and not getting carded at bars. So there was a benefit to it. I'm like, well, that's good. But, yeah, it is genetic. You know, he was a teenager when he started to look like an older man. So there's nothing you could do about it. Just embrace your gray. That's another thing. Men look good with salt and pepper hair. They look distinguished. Women are encouraged to get rid of it.
Yes, that's the point. It's not that women look bad with it. It's they're encouraged to get rid of it. So, but there's a new movement now. You know, women some women are leaving their, you know, gray hairs coming through, and they're making adjustments on color and how they're doing all that, because as much as we don't want to talk about it, the judgment is there. Like, however you want to look at it. So the judgment is still there, and it's still a societal thing that we need to change, because yes, like you said, men look distinguished. It's the perception that they look distinguished. It's not that they look distinguished. You know what I mean? It's like, why can't we call women, you know, looking not mature, because that's a bad word to.
But why do men get to age? Why do we accept them getting older, and why do they become more attractive when they're older? Because,
going back to that magazine stack that I was talking about, we're so focused on women being young, and we've always been seeing men growing, and as they grow, as they age, they get more powerful. You know, they get, you know, they get more powerful in their industries. So in many ways, that's attractive from a biological standpoint.
Yeah,
we're attracted to successful people, right?
Yeah,
it's a genetic, like, we need to procreate. That's like the only thing our bodies are, like, put here for genetically, right? Genetically, you know, biologically, that's your drive, right? Yeah. So yes, you're going to be attracted to a guy that's in a suit. For women, remember there was a meme a couple years ago. You know, guys were looking at naked girls, and for us, like, looking at a guy in a suit was more appealing than looking at a naked guy, right? So that's why, because the way a guy dresses matters. Well, the way a woman dresses matters as well, from the same point of view. But we're made to look at guys differently. And here comes Ione, our assistant managing editor.
Do you want to come say hi? Do you want to come say hi? You want to go wash your hands? See?
Hi, cutie pie.
No? You want to go wash your hands? How about you give me a minute and I'll go wash your hands with you, okay?
Bye, cutie pie. And that's what happened.
I'm surprised it took that long, honestly.
Well, it's like
that's why I didn't shut the door, because I knew as soon as I shut the door, she's like a cat, you know. So.
Yeah, but that's the advantages of working from home, to me anyway. So you're able to, like, be there for her.
For you, it's a big disadvantage in the fact that like, this is surprising. I open up my computer to do anything, and it's mama, 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 mama. And like a cat, she'll sit on top of the computer. It is one of those things where it just gets difficult. And we interviewed Melissa Halfon.
Yes.
She told me a story about how they hired somebody to Melissa Halfon, who is the founder of VidCode, who you can watch on another podcast we did. But she told me a story. They hired a woman to do some customer service admin stuff for them, which they could hire remote. They preferred someone who was remote. And she had so many great credentials, and she was so excited about it. And she quit on day 2 because she had 3 kids, and they just made it impossible for her to work. And she was really disappointed because she wanted to make extra money.
Right.
Like, they were financially stable, but just, like, feeling like you're doing something, having your own, having your own money, no matter how much it is. Just having something that you earned yourself is great. But she had to quit because it was just too much with 3 kids who needed her constantly, and that just got amped up once they realized she was giving her attention to something else. So it is really hard. I used to laugh at the idea that stay-at-home moms who worked from home would hire help when they were already at the house.
Yeah.
And now I'm
You
like,
can't
you cannot work. Like, you learn, there are a lot of things you'll say you won't do or don't understand, and then you have kids and you're like, okay, yeah. I was a big jerk there. Like using TV as a babysitter, for one. Like, sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
Right.
I have the TV on right now so I could be in here doing this. You have to do what you have to do. But you also can't sit your kid in front of the TV for 10 hours straight, 5 days a week, so you can work. That's just not how it is. It's not feasible. So it is really hard to work from home and take care of a kid at the same time. You just can't be productive. So, like, why a lot of parents, and maybe some women can do it. I'm not one of them because, unfortunately, my kid is too young to make it work.
Yeah, she's going to grow up. It's going to change. It's going to be a little better.
She starts preschool in September.
Who's super excited?
She is, of course. I'm excited because she's excited.
Well, yeah, it's going to be a phenomenal change for you and for her, and it's going to help her with social skills. With
100%.
So it's not a bad thing. I know it's going to suck for both of you for a little bit of separation, but it shouldn't. But other than that, she's on the path that she needs to be, and it's actually going to help her out. So, and that doesn't mean that you're not going to have her at home. Like, how long is preschool? Like 4 hours a day, 3 hours a day?
It is from 8:30 to 3. But
okay.
It's full-time daycare. It's a private school too, but for $150 extra a month, we could do aftercare till 6:30. And I'm like, well, being able to do what I'm doing and put more effort into work, that's worth it. Like, to have that extra time where I could have her there till 6:30, or I could pick her up at 3 when I need to. So there's a lot of leeway there.
So that's good. That's built in. And it's going to help out with her and with what you're planning on doing. So
exactly.
So talk to me about coming back into the workforce after being a mom. Like, and I've seen so many cases of postpartum depression and people having a hard time with separation from their children, or moms having a hard time with separation from their children, and not wanting to go back to work. And there's before having the child, they're like, I'll have the child, I'll stay home for a month or whatever, and then I'll go back to work because this is who I am. But a lot of things change once you become a mom. I'm talking from outsider's perspective, obviously, but. So how did it change for you? Like, what changed for you?
I was working for the federal government, and I was offered a new position that I would have had to do some light travel, mainly from New York to DC, so nothing major.
Yeah, fairly close.
But I was really excited about it. And I was like, oh, my husband, for his job, goes to Stockholm and other places. And I'm like, I would love to do that. I would love to have one of these jobs where I travel everywhere. They pay for me to go to Asia on a business class seat, like, let's do this. That particular job wasn't there, but that would have been my goal. I got to, when I worked for CNN International, I got to dab in that a little bit. That's what I wanted. And I remember when I was there, a lot of the women after they became moms, they quit that job and they segued into the newsroom, which was not as glamorous or as fun. But now that they had kids, they wanted a job that would keep them in their desks in one spot. And granted, I was like 25 at the time, so I was like, how the hell would you do that? Like, they're flying you to Asia. They're flying you to Africa. They're flying you to Rome to eat the best food in the world. Why would you want to sit at your office every day? Yeah. And it's because they had children, and I had my daughter, and the idea of being away from her is really difficult. I had her in daycare for a bit, and that was helpful. But at the same time, it was crazy. It's like, this is a part of me. And I was just talking to a woman who was pregnant about how I felt a sense of loss after I gave birth. I was mourning that feeling of having her inside me. I got used to the new normal, which was feeling her every move. Even the worst parts, like having to pee every 5 seconds, not being able to sleep, having pains. Like, it became the new normal, and it was sad when that wasn't there. Yes, I was holding her in my arms, but I didn't feel those kicks and those flutters and that excitement. It was a very strange feeling. I got over it quickly, but it was still there. Because this person was a part of you for almost a year. And, like, my husband will still travel for work, and I'm like, I could not do that. We went to Croatia when she was right before she turned a year, and we were there for 7 days, and I was like, that's a long time. We can't do a long trip because I can't be away from her for that long. And it becomes really hard. Sometimes I'm exasperated, and I'm like, I need a break. Just let me go to Target for 2 hours by myself. I'm not even going to call a friend. Just let me go walk around the aisles. And my husband will be like, okay, take time alone. And after an hour and a half, I come home because it's like, I miss her. It's a strange feeling. It is hard as a mom to have his child and not be with them. And for many women, you kind of have to buck up and do it because you have to leave. I'm fortunate that we can do it where I can do freelance work and work from home and work on building up this magazine. But a lot of women can't. And not just for financial reasons, but for mental reasons. Especially if you have multiple children. It can be exhausting, and you just need, like, I relish in my adult time. There's something great about being able to be with adults. And it's frustrating when my husband's like, oh, I have an event I have to go to for work, or I've had a really awful week. I just need to decompress and go have a drink with my friends for a couple hours. And that's like, I've had a really awful week, too, because I'm potty training, but I don't get a break. Yeah. I don't get to leave the office. I don't get weekends. Right. And it can be stressful, but getting back into work is like you almost have to you have to retrain yourself. You get so used to, for me, because I've been home with her and I've been very fortunate, I feel like my skills have atrophied, and which I know is not true. And just to be completely forthcoming, I sometimes feel like I've I can't do anything. I don't know what I can do. You know, I can barely do laundry, let alone anything else. And it's like, no, that's just from me being out of the workforce for a long time. And I feel like a lot of women probably also feel that. You start to get into this like self-doubt and I'm not worthy, even though mothers are worthy. But you do sometimes have people. And now granted, I live in an area where it's almost a status symbol to be a stay-at-home mom because that means your husband makes a gazillion dollars. That's not the case for me. But a lot of these women, they'll have like, they're pushing their $1,000 strollers with an expensive cup of coffee and their nanny is beside them. And it is like a status symbol to say, like, I don't have to work. I can stay home with my kid and get my nails done at 2 p.m. while my babysitter watches my child. And it's, you know, I'm fortunate enough where I'm not really looked down upon because I'm not working. But comments are made to me almost like, what do you do during the day? You know?
Yeah.
And that is frustrating. It was frustrating coming from my own husband when he'd come home and be like, why does this house look like a tornado ran through it? And I'd say, well, because when I cleaned it, my sweet, loving child helped me clean it and then looked at me and laughed and threw everything back on the floor. So I'm just going to wait to clean up all of her toys when she goes to sleep because otherwise I'm going to be cleaning a mess 5 times a day. And it's almost just like, and comments made like, oh, well, you know, are you going to do that? Like your husband, since he makes the money, it's his money, it's his money, it's his money. And I start thinking that. And it's like, well, no, it's our money.
It is, yeah.
Because, I mean, where we live, daycare is average $2,500 a month. So I can work and throw money to daycare.
Yeah.
I'm doing something by spending time with our child, and it's very beneficial when kids are young to be with their moms. But again, I'm in a situation where I can do that, but sometimes I am made to feel that I'm inadequate because I'm with my child and not working. It's almost like a stay-at-home mom is a lesser breed, you know?
You are working. You're working with Ione. You're working on the house, and I'm
doing this.
And you're doing this. This is like a lot of work,
okay.
So I need to send you. So I really need to send you business cards so you can say this is what I'm doing and deal with it.
But that's another thing. Another thing too. On the flip side, when I put her in preschool, I do go to work full time, and then I'm like, Monica, I'm gonna have 2 jobs now.
Yeah.
I'd be judged for it because I'm a mother. So why am I not putting my child first? It's women can't win.
We should, and I'm tired of gender stereotypes. I'm beyond done with gender stereotypes. The fact that your husband's company, which I don't know, we should name, because I think that we should name them because it's a phenomenal company to do what they're doing. They gave him. You
can say it.
It's Spotify. I love Spotify, and Spotify, we love you for many, many reasons. But basically, the fact that they're giving parental leave to their male employees, like that's exactly what's needed. Yes, it's a European country and all that stuff, but it's exactly what's needed to change.
They are a Swedish company, so that I think, but it's also a lot of the big startups are doing an open family leave policy, open family leave policies. But the CEO of Spotify, he said that he was asking employees in the U.S. offices what was the hardest thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
And almost every woman who was a mother said family work-life balance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he couldn't understand he's smart, he's done a lot of reading, but he still couldn't grasp why so many women felt like they had to be pulled in 2 ways. When in his country, it's just like, it's a given that your family comes first. And when your kids need you, you go to your kids because you're building the future.
Yeah.
These are the people who are taking care of us. So you
Right.
need to focus on them. That's why they give moms a full year off out there.
Yeah.
Because they need to be doing that. And he did not like that moms had the brunt of it. I mean, the men just went back to work. That's what they did. But the moms had the brunt of it. And it was hard for them to have to focus on a job and then focus on their kid and then be like, you know, my daughter has a dance recital and a music recital next week. The recitals are always at 1 p.m. So what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know, I have to leave work. My kid got sick. I have to leave work. I just had a baby. I have to leave work. And a lot of offices don't even have places to pump. So he's like, listen, he's like, this has to stop. So he implemented 6 months parental leave for moms and dads, for adoptive parents.
Wow.
Yeah. If you have a kid, you bring it home. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's actually 5 months off. The last month is you can choose between working part-time, working remote a few days, or working like a few days a week, or working from home, just to get yourself back into the groove. And they do a lot of family events. For Bring Your Kid to Work Day, they always have a ton of activities for kids. They do holiday events.
How cool is that?
They want it to be a family thing. And they implemented this 2 months after my daughter was born. And so my husband was like, are you kidding me? But then they're like, no, we're making it retroactive by a couple of years because they didn't want people to feel. And you have up to 2 years to take that time. You can take it all at once or you can take it in segments. But it was just to be able to spend time with your family. And also, if you are a man, you are a father, and your wife only gets 90 days, then you can switch. And she goes back to work, and you can take that time. So you're not putting a newborn into daycare. It's great. Like I said, I work for the federal government. So for me, it was whatever PTO I had. And then after that, I was at home for free. Now, with the government, they will hold your position for 365 days. So they can't fire you, but you're not getting paid. Right. I worked with a woman who had twins and ended up on bed rest, and she had to exhaust all of her PTO for that time. So by the time she gave birth to them, it was like, well, you're not getting paid. You've exhausted because we don't have maternity leave.
Right.
That's government supported. So his company it's fantastic for parents. They really care about it. And I mean, tomorrow,
love them from that point of view.
Case in point, tomorrow I have an appointment that I need to go to, and it's during the day, and it has to be taken care of. So I'm dropping her off with him, and
at work.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. No one's going to say anything. In fact, he has a couple of coworkers that are obsessed with my child. So, she's going to have fun. And they have snacks galore. So, she's going to have a great time with that.
So nobody's going to look down on Dominic that he's bringing his daughter to work or...
No. When we were there when I was there last time, one of his older male coworkers came up and was just like, she was running around. He's like, you want to be careful because once she figures she can get through there's this mesh wall, he's like, you're never going to get her out of it. So, because she won't stop playing with it. But it was just like things like that. They're just used to, they have game rooms, they're used to kids. I mean, they get their work done, but it's not an issue when family things come up.
So that's the kind of company that we should look up to.
Agree.
As a corporate, from a corporate perspective. They're a startup. Yes, they're, but
they're technically not a startup now.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. But they also I feel like the best way to support women is to give men more power in the family dynamic. And power is the wrong word, because I'm not saying they're the head of the household, but to say more involvement, exactly. Making it less taboo for a man to be a stay-at-home parent, or to, I mean, because my husband, he's a great dad, and he's always been like, you know, I wish you would get a job that would pay you 3 times what I make so I can be a stay-at-home dad. And he would. He would keep her home. They'd go to zoos. They'd go to art museums. They'd paint together. They'd go to the park every day when he was on his summer, because he took a whole summer off. He was the only dad at the park with all the stay-at-home moms and nannies. He loved it. He loved it. And we need more opportunities for men like that. So, because I don't think my husband's an anomaly. I really don't. I think there are a lot of men who would love to do that, but they feel like they have to be at work. They have to be the breadwinner. They know they're looked down upon, or not necessarily looked down upon, but given weird looks when they're out with their kid. And it's like, it's a Tuesday afternoon. What are you doing, dude? You know, what's wrong with you? Do you not have a job? It's like they can't.
It's going back to the same cultural issue that we keep talking about.
That also helps women so much when men are encouraged to be with their families and do things with their children and say we're an equal partnership. And I think that that's helpful when we give men opportunities to do these things so that women can move up in the ranks.
I fully agree. So it's not just society that does that. Yes, we're taught to do all this stuff, but it doesn't mean we can't stop it and we can't adjust the course right now. So let's do that. Let's make it less taboo for men to take their daughter to the park, or take their boy child to the park. Let's let's make it okay for them to get more involved with house chores. Let's make it okay for them to stay home and for the women to go back to work. I mean, we can find a balance, like how Spotify is finding a balance, giving men and women the same amount of parental leave. Why can't we do that as a society as well?
Just a quick reminder, our summer issue is out now. So go to the website at thebusinessmagazineforwomen.com/magazine and get your copy. In this issue, we'll talk about finances, specifically as they affect women. We'll talk about getting ahead of retirement and living life to the fullest around the world. So there's going to be a lot of travel in the magazine. We're also talking about women in venture capital and crowdfunding, as well as startups. And we're talking with the leading women of cannabis industry. Yes, we're actually talking about cannabis, weed, pot, however you want to call it, but we're talking about and with the women of the industry leading those industry. And we're also going to be talking about the royalty. We're actually talking with royalty. We're talking specifically with Prince Constantine of the Netherlands and about his impact into the startup world. Believe us when we're telling you this is a fun issue, and we're sure you'll enjoy it. So go to the website and start reading it now. Again, the address for the magazine is thebusinessmagazineforwomen.com/magazine. All right, let's get you back to the conversation.
All right, so we were talking about the culture and like culture in general and how it's like really impacting women and men, and it's impacting family life, and we can't have a proper family work-life balance because as women, we cannot. If we step away mid-career to go take care of children or an ailing parent or anything like that, it takes us off the path to get that, to make partner at a firm, to to go to senior level. It takes us off that path. So once we go back in, we have to pay our dues again, like we haven't done anything since leaving work. But so the issue is, it's culture. So how do we change that? How do we make it less taboo? I think that by what we're doing, I think we're going to make a big push for that. I think that's going to help tremendously. That's why I'm doing this, because I'm trying to change culture. But
you have to be loud. You have to be loud. You have to be aggressive. Get it out there. You're going to turn people off. You're going to make people uncomfortable. But change isn't, the status quo doesn't bring change. So you have to push. You have to be loud.
Yes,
make them hear you and keep going.
That's kind of the idea. And the reason why I'm pushing even this hard is because women are pulled away mid-career, for having children and that kind of stuff. We get to retirement with about half the money that men do. So we live longer. Women live longer. It's, so we have less money to go into retirement, and we live longer than men do. So that doesn't seem fair, especially because we're the ones that have raised the children. We're the ones that have taken care of the parents. We've taken care of the house. Yeah. So it doesn't seem fair that we get to retirement with, with half the money. So there's got to be better ways. So in this passage, we talked about, how do we invest? How do we do more? How do we bring more women into the finance world, and how do we get them to stop? Because women tend to focus on saving money and making sure that everybody's taken care of, and safety and security is super important for women, as you know. Men take more risk, and they invest more because they have less inhibitions about taking risks, but we don't. So how do we do that? Like, I mean, the way we're doing that is by showcasing phenomenal women. That's kind of what we're doing.
Agreed.
So, by showing that it's possible, by giving women more tools to do this, because
and women need those tools. I went to a women's conference about 5 or 6 years ago, and there was an attorney speaking who she was a divorce lawyer. And she said it was very difficult, particularly for affluent women, because they got divorced and then they had nothing, no credit, no savings, because everything was in their husband's name. Their husbands paid the bills. Their husbands took care of everything. They're the ones who bought the home. They had no idea how to handle money. They didn't know what they had. And they were just kind of thrown into situations. Anecdotally, I know somebody whose husband died young. He had a business with a lot of debt, and she was pregnant. It's an unfortunate situation, but she was left with a child and all of this debt her husband accrued, and when he drafted his will, it was before his eldest child was born, and so he left like everything with this business, everything he owned to his mom and his brother, and then never changed it after he had kids. And so she didn't have access to it, and there was, of course, like it happens with a lot of people, a lot of fighting over who got the money because of greed. Greed takes, the best of everyone, but she just was very dependent upon her husband. He allowed her to live a certain lifestyle she liked, and then everything changed. And so we as women need that kind of education on how to handle our own finances, how to have an idea of how to invest and how to save, and how to have a safety net when the worst happens, because the worst can happen in the blink of an eye. And we have to be set for that, especially if kids are involved.
And it's never truer than in our day and age, when you can't. So there's divorces that happen, and women have stayed at home, and in situations where wives have stayed at home and raised the children, and husbands, like we said, husbands making money, and all of a sudden there's a divorce, or in this case was a death, but like, I don't know which one's less fortunate, because they're both very less fortunate from my point of view. It's divorce is disruptive, and death is disruptive, and but change happens, and change will come at you however it's going to come at you. So for women not to have any sort of financial education from starting early, nobody's teaching us about how to invest. Nobody's teaching us how to, save money and invest money, how to have a portfolio, diversify portfolio. Nobody's doing that. Well, actually, somebody, like one of the people we interviewed, is doing that. Is teaching black girls
it's a very small number.
It's a very small number. Very small number. I think we should teach financial education in school. I think
100%.
I think that should be something that everybody needs to know. All the kids need to know because, let's say you grew up poor. It's going to help you structure what you want to do with the money that you're making from cutting a lawn or delivering newspapers. Is going to teach you what to do with that money. If you grew up rich, it's going to teach you to like keep your allowance and figure out the value of money, not just like, oh, I'm rich, daddy buys me everything I want. Let's just figure out the value of money and let's just work on that. So
there's so many things that basic life skills that we are not taught in school.
We're not taught in school, and we become adults, and we have children, and we have no idea what happens when we get divorced. And so somehow you have to either go to business school or financial, get a financial education to learn this. And, and I think that's really sad because this is a basic life skill that needs to be taught to every girl in every community. So, but we have somebody who's doing that. We'll put a link at the bottom of the podcast about that. But so that's kind of what we're doing. So what do you think should we focus on from now on, like besides cultural and stuff? Because that's super important, and we can change a little bit at a time, and we can do that with every issue and every podcast.
I think that we need to focus on. We need to focus on the underrepresented industries that you don't hear a lot about certain things. I know, and please edit this out if you don't want it to say it yet, but like focusing on the women in cannabis that we're doing for the next issue. Like certain things that you don't think about women are in, really like hits that. We talk a lot about women in business, women in the boardroom. There's so few CEOs that are female. There's so few vice presidents that are female. And so we put a lot of emphasis on that, like Forbes for Women. Here are these women that created this awesome startup that's making a ton of money. Can you create the next Spanx? Can you create the next ClassPass? We focus on that. But there needs to be a focus on female astronauts, female biophysicists.
That's the next issue.
Female, see? I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. Not that I don't know this because, managing editor. But, but female firefighters.
Yeah. We have one of those, too.
Yeah, but all of these things like female race car drivers, things that young girls and young women have an interest in, but they may be like, I don't really have representation for it. And then, go even further with getting women of color to be a part of this. Trans women, like women who are really underrepresented. And just to get like that black girl who is 15 and trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life and is really into science, but you don't have a lot of black women in science that are, featured in the media, that you see in books and on shows, so that they could be like, oh, I can do this because there are mentors that I can have. We need to focus on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there, a woman of color who's the head chef at a Michelin star restaurant? Probably not, but you can find those niches that like women can aspire. We can show young women and girls and even women our age that these things are out there. And I think we should put a focus on that more than here's another female CEO, which I think is great. I think it's awesome. But I feel like that's what you see a lot in business magazines. And there's a reason for that. But it's saturated the market. I think it would be great to focus on all these other women doing amazing things, because there's so many amazing things and amazing women. And it would just be cool to, you know, talk to that female firefighter, you know, who just saved a group full of frat boys who couldn't get out of the house, you know.
They're too stoned.
Yeah. The things, you know, there are a lot of amazing things women are doing that women don't get credit for.
I agree. And in the next issue, actually, for the September issue, we're going to be interviewing well, she was 15 years ago, so she's going to be 17 this year. Yeah. She's an astronaut in training. She's spectacular, and I'm so incredibly jealous of her.
What's her IQ, like 700?
I don't know. I don't know, but I'll talk to her in the next couple of days, and so we have a podcast. I'm so excited about that recording because she's one of those kids that I saw myself being when I was a child, but I didn't have the opportunity to become an astronaut when I was, you know, because you have to start really, really early. You can't just jump into it. I mean, it takes so much training to even get into the pool that you can be pulled from. So, so she started, she's doing it right. Her dad is a single dad, and he's got tears in his eyes when he's saying that my daughter's going to go to Mars and I'm going to be so sad, basically. But he's very proud of her at the same time, you know.
Right.
So, and there's that, and there's like 2 or 3 astronaut women that we need to talk with because, like you said, we don't have that. Yes, I wanted to be an astronaut, but it wasn't because I saw a woman astronaut. It was not because I saw, hey, there's a woman that's going to space. That's why I want to be an astronaut. No. I wanted to be an astronaut because I'm a geek and because I love space and because I read sci-fi and because I'm all about, you know, NASA and SpaceX and all that stuff. But yes, and there's a lot of, like, you know, the CEO of SpaceX? Yeah, CEO of SpaceX is a woman. So I would like to talk with her as well because she's, you know, working on SpaceX. It's massive. And there's women in working with lasers that we're going to be talking with. There's women that are having a Discovery Center. There's called the Discovery Center in Atlanta, Georgia. And she's teaching STEM, basically. She's teaching STEM classes, STEM camps to children. I'm like, yes, that's what we need. We need children to get involved into that. So, I hear you. We need to see more of those women. And so that's the covers. And those are the podcasts that we're doing. So yay, we're super excited about that. But that's kind of what we're doing.
I want to meet a woman brewmaster.
We have an interview in Minneapolis with that. So they're phenomenal. It's it's actually a gay couple out of St. Paul, and they're really, really good at what they're doing. The brewery is doing fantastic, and and because they're the only woman owned brewery in Minnesota, which is kind of a good thing. I mean, it's not a good thing that they're the only one. It's a good thing that there is one. There'd be better if there'd be 2. It'd be nice to know more women like that. And we're going to be talking to somebody that's doing, it's called Barbecue Wife, and it's out of...
that's awesome. I don't even know what it is, but I just like the name.
Sounds good, right? So basically they're doing really natural, I don't want to say organic, but they're
We're being
natural.
interrupted again. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, you're leaving? Okay, she's done. We're not interesting to her.
So but the Barbecue Wife is interesting because they're doing mixers. They're doing the margarita mix and the Bloody Mary mix, but it's like it's honey and
please forgive my coughing.
And smoked honey, basically. I don't know how they do that, but it's smoked honey with just lime juice. I mean, that's how pure that is, and there's no additives. There's nothing on it. So we'll be talking to her and how she came up with this, and those are like. And there's Women in Wine out of California, so we'll be talking to them as well. So I found them on I Fund Women, which is a phenomenal
a platform that we need to talk about because it's the only crowdsourcing platform that is created by women, and it's only supporting female-founded projects. So we don't have that. So because we were talking about education a little bit earlier and all that stuff, financial education, that kind of stuff, we also need business education if you think about it.
Agreed.
You know, like, because we don't get that in school, right? So when you start a business, you know, I was fortunate enough to like know the business side and know the marketing side of things, but not a lot of women come from marketing and not a lot of women come from business, right? So when you start a business, and especially when you need a little bit of funding at the beginning, when you go crowdsourcing, this company, I Fund Women, is actually going to teach you how to, is going to give you, you know, marketing calendar, is going to teach you how to promote yourself, it's going to have a coach that's going to guide you on the path. So they're doing spectacular work, basically, because if you think about it, who are they? Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all the other platforms are not doing anything like that. They're like, here's the platform, go do your thing, and it's up to you to like spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, sometimes thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in promoting it and getting it designed properly and figuring out the rewards and all that stuff. But with I Fund Women, they help women through the entire process. They're creating a professional look for their campaigns, and it helps tremendously. So I love that platform. And because through them, I found these amazing women in California. It's a group of women winery owners, women-owned wineries. And
so can we go meet them in person and tour their vineyards and try their wine? I think we should. I mean,
you and I think that should be a company trip for sure. So that's kind of the idea, because they're spectacular, and there's a lot of them. They have a wine club, so that's really, really, really spectacular. So yes, there's brewmasters, women brewmasters. Yes, there's winery owners. Yes, there's liquor. What do you call it? Liquor makers. What do you call them?
They have a distillery. I mean, that's more like whiskey distilleries. But
I'm sure there's distilleries owned by women, and there's cannabis by women. So because we need to talk about that, because like you said, cannabis, women in cannabis, nobody talks about them, but we need to talk about them because they're making lots of money. There's more women in that industry at the C-level by 10% out of versus all the other industries. So that's super impressive. We also we're talking also about women in VC, in venture capital, which is very, very low percentage of women. So the percentage of women investors is very, very small. And they're also investing in only 4% of the investments at the VC level are women founded companies. 4%. It's so bad. It's just so atrocious. Yeah. So we need to talk about female startups, female founders. We need to talk about, women venture capitalists. We need to talk about, the I Find Women. We need to talk about True Wealth Venture out of Austin. I Find Women is out of New York. There's a couple of other firms that we've talked to in the VC spectrum, in the VC area, venture capital area, that are not necessarily mainly women, but they have women in their leadership. And the conversation of who they're investing in changes if there's a woman making the decision. So, and we're also putting together, the conference here in Houston. It's going to be a mini conference. We're hoping to have our team there, first of all, and then some awesome people that we've talked to, we've interviewed, and so we're working on that this year. So I'm excited about this year. I know you're going to have a lot of travel coming up, and I can't wait to see where you've gone, where you've done. So where are you going coming up?
I am. Let's see. Next week I leave for Ireland, Scotland. We're going on a Scotch tour. We're going to a wedding in Northern Ireland, and then our friends are meeting up with us, and we'll be there for 10 days, child-free.
Nice.
And then I have a trip in Boston It's a short one in July. It's 24 hours, but my best friend and I always end up in Boston together. I went to school there, so that's part of it. But we are meeting up because she has a work conference in D.C., so we're going to start there, 24 hours. And then in August, I'm just going to be at weddings in different places. It's the year of destination weddings. So, and I'm in one in Kentucky. It's pretty awesome. Their cocktail hour is going to be a tour of the distillery. So,
nice.
Yeah, so we'll drink whiskey, and the bride said she wants to have a taco bar for food. Her mom and all the older generation in her family were guests, but all of us were like, oh my God, taco bar, you have to do it. So, but I don't know what that plan is, but I'm going to an Indian wedding ceremony. I'm going to be at a wedding on the beach in North Carolina. Just, yeah, a lot.
Fun.
I'll be in Houston for the women's conference.
The conference, yes.
So there's definitely a lot going on when my kid starts preschool. It's just a crazy, crazy summer. We just came back from Las Vegas, and in February we were in Canada, we were in Seattle, we were in Denver, constantly on the go. My kid has seen more places in her first 2.5 years than I saw in my first 30. Like, I'm not even making that up. I was 21 when I made it past. So I went to Boston for grad school. I was 21 the first time I went past Utah. Up until then, Utah was the furthest east I'd ever been.
West.
So, what? No, furthest east. I'm from the west.
Oh, east. West. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So it. Yeah. So it has been. Well, actually, I'm lying. I did go to Jamaica when I was 19. So my whole story makes no sense now. But in the continental U.S., I really never saw anything. And then my kid has been to so many places.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it's a fun time to be a child right now. There's a lot of opportunity for to become pretty much anything that you want to become and to go anywhere you become. So and it's so much easier today than it was before. Yes, it's harder with the child, traveling with a child, but at the same time, she's going to start remembering from, like, she's 2.5, right? So she's going to start remembering a lot of things from now on. So it's going to be
even so, I mean, we are fortunate to be where we are. So even if we don't, like, travel for the next year, it's not like she is being hurt by being stuck in New York City. You know,
you have opportunity. Yeah, museums and
why
shows.
don't you come say hi instead of, see, this is when it's lunchtime and I have to go be a mom. Would you say hi to Monica?
Hi, cutie pie.
And hi to all the viewers. She said no.
All right.
The wine.
We're going to let you go,
wine. Baby. Oh, my gosh.
But we're going to let you go. Because
it was fun.
It was fun, and I'm so glad we were able to do this because we haven't had a chance to talk about anything for our viewers to know what we're doing this for and why and like the reasons that we mentioned and who are you and like all that stuff. So I think it matters a lot. And
definitely, we'll have to do a part 2 soon.
We will. We'll do the conference in Houston part 2 because it's gonna be important that we're gonna be face to face. It's gonna be a little bit easier. So give her a big hug from me. Yeah. Give her a big hug for me, and we'll talk to you next time. But thanks everybody for tuning in, and thanks Adrienne for doing this.
Do you want to say bye? Do you want to say bye? Oh, she's saying bye. Come say bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Now, everybody, you got a huge goodbye from our little Ione, and hopefully all y'all are going to have a great day from now on. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, everybody, and thanks again for tuning in today. This was a fun podcast to record, and we're glad you stayed with us.
The music for our podcast has been graciously provided by our very own Wonder Woman, Cheryl B. Englehart. Stay tuned and don't forget to get your free music bundle at cbemusic.com. And just to remind you, for the price of a cup of coffee or tea, you can now hear your name and or your company's name on our podcast. Make your way to patreon.com/Wonder Women Podcast and show your support for us so that we can create more opportunities for female founders and female entrepreneurs to be seen, heard, and get funded. Thanks, everybody, and remember to subscribe. See y'all next time. Bye.